Imagine transforming your roofing business from a one-man operation into a thriving family-run company that's not just profitable, but also unforgettable in your community. That's exactly what George Villegas of Marva Roofing did. From implementing a bold rebrand featuring a French Bulldog as the logo, to opening a new facility that's become the heart of his team culture. George has rewritten the playbook on creating a standout roofing brand. In today's episode, we dive deep into how George leveraged branding, leadership, and technology to take Marva Roofing to the next level, growing his business while balancing family and work in the fast-growing Rio Grande Valley. George Villegas is the owner of Marva Roofing and a proud member of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance. He has built a reputation not just for exceptional work, but also for fostering a team-oriented culture and mentoring the next generation of his family into leadership roles within the company. George's journey is inspiring, especially as he transitioned from stormwork to retail roofing, involving his family in every step. His passion for empowering his team and building a legacy truly sets him apart. Whether you're a seasoned roofing pro or just starting out, this episode is packed with actionable insights. From creating a memorable brand to implementing systems that drive efficiency and profitability. Let's jump in and hear from George Villegas of Marva Roofing. Welcome to the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm Jim Aline, and I'm here to bring you insights from top leaders in the roofing industry to help you grow and scale your roofing business. Welcome back, George Villegas.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Been a long time.
Marva Roofing in the house, Rio Grande Valley.
Yes, sir.
How are you, brother?
Representing. Yeah, doing good, man. Enjoying the family, the holiday.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, we're in holiday season now. It's a crazy thing, how fast time goes, right? Like it. And I know you have small children and older children, and I have my 9-year-old. My boys are 9; they'll be 10 here in January. Boy, those kids put a clock on life,
right?
It's a weird thing, man. It is a weird thing. Like, look what's happening. Like, speaking of a clock, man, it's been a while. It's been a while since we had you on. You're part of the Roofing and Solar Reform Alliance, so I see you, often, I guess, or at least on a pretty regular basis, and,
right.
and have seen you continue to grow. And I was like, let's talk to George again because I think that there's always lessons along the way. There's lessons that you learn. There's the evolution of your business, and that's what. You've been doing a lot of cool things. You've rebranded, you got a new shop, you're starting to, you promoted some people to management positions, you built a whole marketing team, you've done all kinds of cool stuff. What do you think is the most impactful thing that you've done over the past couple of years? What's that one thing right now that's on your mind that's like?
Without a doubt, I'd say rebranding. That was
rebranding.
That was the one thing that I'd say really put us on the map. I mean, since last we talked and I was in the podcast, I was very excited about the possibilities of the business, and we were growing, kicking off. We still didn't have a very big team, but after going through some of the training that we got involved with the Alliance, and just taking everybody's recommendations in terms of what to read, who to follow on social media. We started implementing all these things, and we've seen some changes in our business for the better. Now, there's been ups and downs for sure. I mean, we've implemented things that we had no business bringing into our business, right? But we had to try, and we learned by making mistakes. But we're at a very sweet spot right now.
Nice, man. Let's talk about rebranding, because I've had a couple of people on the podcast. My friend Travis from Planet Roof is one that sticks out to me. They did this great rebrand, right. and it was a similar kind of. He made similar statements. It was about like 4 to 6 months after the rebrand, people were having different conversations with them. It was like people are seeing us everywhere, man. Like
Well, that's the one thing we hear. I mean, when we rebranded, it seemed like we'd been around forever because we were now memorable for people. One of the things we talked about a few weeks ago, you and I, was about the truck wraps. People think we just
Yes,
have this whole fleet of vehicles, but it's not that. I mean, it's the wraps, it's the branding, right? And we're just, people think we're everywhere, right?
it is. And that's what it is. It's like all of a sudden there's something memorable that sticks out, right? Um, what what inspired you to rebrand, and what were the key elements that you focused on during the transformation or transition?
So, I mean, the inspiration came from several places. Us following some people helped us. I mean, some of the companies that we followed that really inspired us was Tiger Roofing. I mean, we
Yeah,
met them out at the conference last year in at the what is it, the roofing conference with Dimitri.
Dimitri's conference.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah, roofing
we
process conference.
roofing
Yeah,
process conference, correct?
yeah.
Man, I was just so impressed with what they did, and then when back in the day when we joined the roofer marketers, talking to you about branding all the time, and then afterwards we joined the roofing and solar alliance, and again, everybody's talking about, it's you got to be the best known roofer, right? So how do we become the best known roofer? We got this little logo that it looks like everybody else's, right? So we
Yeah.
were looking to get inspiration. One of the things we have is we have a lot of French Bulldogs. I mean, it's our mascots. Then we had one of our older Patriot one pass, and we are like, you know what? Why not? Why not use the Frenchies as our logo? And then green has always been one of my favorite colors. And one is I was in the military, as you already know, and then
Yep.
the girls, they really like green. It's like renewal, it's life. It's sort of like, well, let's combine this and come up with something, right? So we go into work and we developed the logo first before we actually started putting all the story behind it, right? But it's been a journey. I'd have to say that the only regret I have is not doing it sooner.
Hmm.
That's it.
It's
Yeah.
a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's just business, man. You just don't know what you don't know. And when you're getting started, you're working off of the knowledge that you have,
Right.
right? Like, and this is the knowledge that I have, and let's go from there. Now that you guys, you had some ideas, like, okay, we have these Frenchies, we love the color green, like how did you develop that brand story after you got the logo in a way that you felt would resonate with your customers?
Well, I think it also has to do with my military background a little bit. We're always about the guys, right? And we call them or now we call them our Marva dogs, right? And then these guys, and they really take it serious. They're hungry about what they do. They as far as we're concerned, we have the best crews in our area at least. And we made it all about them. So if you notice on a lot of our postings, it's really, we don't showcase our offices. We don't showcase, we do showcase a little bit of the leadership, but it's always about the guys, them working, having fun, having lunch. So what that has caused, and this is one of the things I learned from you particularly, it's created this culture where, man, there's guys knocking at my door every day for work. I do not have the problem of getting people because they see that what we're about, right? They saw like they see the post of our Christmas parties, us having lunch, us even going out as a group, but in civilian clothes or whatever, and
Yeah.
we created that culture that now has helped us attract a lot of talent, a lot of talent.
That was an unexpected. Was that
Oh,
an unexpected
oh yeah.
result of the rebrand?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
one of the things that happened immediately too was not just the production team grew to a larger and higher quality team. Also, our sales team grew, And it grew because people just started calling us, hey, I want to sell for you, or, or what's your commission structure like? Or, hey, do you pay your salespeople your commission? All the problems salespeople go through, right? And that is one thing that in hindsight, I would have done it a little different. We grew a little too fast that area. We had
Got it.
more guys than we could actually train fast enough. So we were letting them down a little bit. So those are the ups and downs that I was telling you about. We grew the infrastructure and the applications, a whole 9 yards as far as being able to handle the business. But we had all these people that we brought in, and we gave them some training. But this was before the roofing and solar alliance, and we basically set some of these guys up for failure, right? And that was because we were too ambitious, growing a little too fast that area of our business, right? And that's the one thing that I do regret, not taking my time a little bit slower, right, to have grown that second area.
But I want to give you a little bit of grace there, and grace to everyone. Is that back to that, we don't know what we don't know. Until you've run. This is what I tell people. A lot of times people will go and work on their processes, and they'll just work on their process and work on their process and work on their processes, but they won't go and sell.
Right.
Right. And so now when they do sell, they realize, oh man, we need to change this. We need to change that, because until it's a real life scenario.
Right.
Right. Until it's real, the process is just a theory. Right. And so I for people listening, this is a lesson that you should give yourself is if you go out and start recruiting and you break it and, just have that self-awareness like you have, George, and say, man, this is where we messed up. How do we solve that problem now? Right. It's a way to find the problem. Right.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And sometimes you find a bigger problem than others. Right.
Right. And I think that I'd say we grew a little too fast that area where we weren't able to train the people right. And where we suffered there was in our conversions, right? Taking a lead to a sell, because we just didn't have not that they weren't motivated people, they were motivated. It just, we hadn't given them the right training, right? We didn't
the right
have
skill set. Yeah, they didn't have the skill set. Yeah, and that it's an important thing. But so how did you overcome that?
So after noticing that problem, then when the first thing we did is we went out and hired a sales manager that could help us put a training program together. We went out and looked for places that we could leverage and provide some of this training by joining the Roofing and Solar Alliance. They already had a program in place.
That's right.
Man, that changed everything for us. It changed it in good ways. I think it was all good. Now, in the end, we had to let go of some people because we realized, okay, part of the problem is that we hired some of the wrong people. And now we see it because we have a training program that they won't follow, and they don't want to be accountable for certain things, right? So now we understand. So we went from a 19% closing rate, which was horrible, to now over a 30% closing rate, right? Yeah. So before the year when we did a couple of years ago that we did the podcast, it was just myself and one of my children selling. Then we went from that to like 10 guys, 12 guys, we grew our sales team. And now we're back to half of that. But we're selling the same amount. We're selling just over the $5 million mark with half the people, right? But it's now our closing rates are much higher. Now we can always get better, for sure.
That's right. But it's the right people a lot of times. I have a question for you, because I think this is where, especially, what were you, or what do you hold those sales reps to from an accountability standpoint that lets you know if they're going to work out or not?
So
what metrics? What is it in intangibles? Is it the tangible stuff like they're not knocking enough doors? What are the things, what are the metrics that you're measuring or looking at in that new salesperson as you're training them and you go, yeah, that person was, or you know what I mean? Like they're
Right.
not going to do it, man.
Well, I mean, if they're not willing to knock a door, at least the doors where we're giving them leads at work that neighborhood. They're not good because we're losing so much potential sales, so many potential sales by not working the neighborhood that we're already got
That's right.
an install in. Right. So if they're not willing to do that, but then the main thing is if they're not willing to train, we found some people that they just think they know it all. Right. They've come from other companies that they were selling a certain way, and we want them to adjust to the methods that we want and the program that we have. They just won't do it. So you can't fight with someone. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. I mean, maybe their numbers are good wherever they were, right? And they're doing well for themselves. But if it doesn't, if that person doesn't align with your culture and the way you want to run your business, then you can't force it, right? So we realized that, right? We understood that at a little too late, but we understood it, and then that's when we had to make adjustments.
What were some of the red flags that came up that you, looking back, like, oh, these were the red flags that they were not a cultural fit?
The first thing is not coming to training. I mean, that's the first thing, right? They don't come to training, or you would tell them, and you could tell whether they're in the game or not. There's a lead for same day within the next few hours, and you're like, hey, can you handle this lead? Oh, I don't have a ladder, I don't have a uniform. It's all at the house. I'm like, man, you're in roofing sales. You should be ready to go, man, whenever, right? Because you never know. That could be your next, $100,000 sell or whatever. And they're like, no, I need like at least a couple of days in advance. Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do all that. So it's commitment. Some people just didn't have the commitment, right? And either committing to training or to availability, that sort of thing. And that's another thing too. We were accepting people part-time. So they had some other gig going on, right? They did this or that or whatever. And we accepted people part-time. And people that are part-time for you, they don't commit. They have to be all in. If they're not all in, it's tough. It's really, really tough because you really don't even know when you can count on them, right? So those were the red flags. I mean,
and I know we've been talking. You went from 1099 to W-2. How has that changed that accountability?
Absolutely, that's the main thing. That's what I was going to say. Accountability. The biggest thing has been that we can tell them where to be, at what time, and what to do and what to wear, right? I mean, and that has gone a long way. But not only that, it has helped our guys be more secure about their paycheck at the end of the week, right? Now, we give bonuses depending on your performance. So there's a way to still help people out make this business a very lucrative business, either for a manager or a salesperson, even as a W-2 employee. But the biggest thing for us as a business is that we can hold people accountable, right? And we can help them become a better salesperson, a better manager. How? By providing them all the training and the tools that now, before they didn't even want to look at, now they have to. So then they start seeing the benefit, and then all of a sudden you start seeing everybody coming into training, showing up on the weekend, calling in to see if they can pick up a lead that, for the weekend or that evening or even on a Sunday, right? So commitment was the biggest thing, in accountability, which again, at the beginning, we were so eager to give these people business and give them a job that we would hire anybody. It's like, and that, that was a problem, right? As long as they could sell.
I think every business starts off that way. We need bodies. We need bodies in the seats, right? Like it's like we want to give everyone a chance because we don't understand how to execute, right? I don't know a good analogy for it, man. Like it's but that's what we do early on in business. And there's a term that gets thrown around, that the people that got you here may not be the people that to get you there, and there's all this different stuff, right? Like things like that it's like, and the reason that happens is because early on, here's what I think it is, George. Maybe we don't have the hiring skill set.
Right. Right.
Maybe that's it, right? That we don't have a skill set of hiring. We didn't come from HR.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's why you leverage a lot of the organizations that you join by attending specific classes about what they've done in work and what they've done and didn't work, so you don't make the same mistakes, right? So you leverage your peer group, you leverage the industry and all the knowledge you can acquire from people that already been there, done it, screwed up, or were successful at it. But you're exactly right. I mean, there were people in the business that were perfect for what I did. I mean, I was a one-man shop with some help here, using a bunch of subs, and I had a production guy that, he didn't have to really do anything except make sure that the material got delivered. That was his job, and we were running, perfect installations doing that. But when we grew to W-2s, a team that we had to train, he just, too many hours, the weekend, these guys are staying late. Now I got to supervise them because they're employees. And so he's the first one that jumped ship. He was a great guy, hardworking guy. He didn't fit anymore with our growth. Right.
Yeah.
So we ended up getting a new production manager that would, right. But that's
so what were some of the challenges? Like, that sounds like it was one of the challenges of switching over. What were some of the other challenges that you faced moving the whole team to W-2?
So, and one of the things was the attrition rate. Like, if you have a sub that you use to do installations, they worry about whether they have enough guys to do the roof or not, right? When you have W-2s, if 2 guys out of 1 crew don't show up, that's a problem, right? Or if your production manager is out sick for 3 or 4 days, that's a problem, right? So that is one of the things that I've seen that has affected us a little bit. But we do cross-train. So we cross-train managers to do overlap a little bit in terms of the training or even the duties a little bit, right? But that was one of the challenges at the beginning. We didn't know how to do it, right? And people were like, well, that's not my job, right? He's the one that's supposed to order that material, or she's the one that was supposed to make that call. So we started putting systems in place and to get rid of those issues. And another one of the things that we did do is talking about Job Nimbus is we integrated Job Nimbus to the core of our business. And now we have dozens of automations that make sure we don't forget anything, make sure the customer's always informed. We have dozens, and we document every single thing we do. I mean, if a guy does a drive-by, he'll put a note, hey, I drove by the house and it looks like the sign's still up, or whatever, So that made a big difference. And before Job Nimbus, I don't even know how I did it, man, to be honest with you. I try to go back and think of how I did it without our CRM. And I'm like, really? We were doing all that work? It was crazy, but
it's crazy. It's crazy what good technology will do to your business, right? But what I'm hearing too is that the team bought into using the technology.
Absolutely.
Right? Because there's sometimes where you could have the best software in the world, but if your team doesn't have buy-in and doesn't use it, like if your sales rep is out and it's like making a note, there's still a sign in the yard, like that's using it on a high level, right? Like that's using the software on a high level. There's in software, there's garbage in, garbage out is what we call it, right? From a programming standpoint. And it's like, if you're not getting good data in, you're not going to get good data out of the other side. So if people aren't moving the job through the boards properly, if they're not making notes, if they're not completing the tasks, and you know what I mean? And also looking for ways to create efficiencies and the automations and things like that. Like if your team isn't bought into doing that and using that technology and seeing the value of using that technology on a day-to-day basis, it's not going to work out for you either.
Yeah, and one of the things that we were able to gain from that, when you say garbage in, garbage out, we were putting good information into the system, so we're able to pull out all these KPIs, right? So
That's
now
right.
we got all these indicators that tell us where we're at. Before, we were just like, we think we're making money, we think he's working, we think they're knocking enough doors, we think they're going to finish on time. We think we're averaging good times for these jobs or whatever. Now we know. And now we can make adjustments on the fly, right? Now we know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of the things that I specifically learned from you and Adam about tracking KPIs. I mean,
tracking.
How else will you know if you're growing, if you're profitable? How else if you don't have these numbers that you can look at, right?
What are some key KPIs that you're like, man, if I just had these, I'm 80% of the way there. Like I know I got it. I have, there's that Pareto's rule, right? 80-20. Like if I just knew these key numbers, and maybe think about it in terms of sales and production, right? Because it's different, right? So if you're looking at it like, if you said, man, I only wanted these 5 or these 10 KPIs, like I would be able to know what my business is doing. Which ones would you look at?
Well, I mean, definitely how many leads we come in, right? How many of those leads were actually going in front of a customer and presenting ourselves, right? How many of those are converting to an estimate? And how many of those are converting to a close? And I also want to track the ones we lost, because I want to know why, right? So not only do I track the ones we're closing, I also track the ones we lost, because I want to see, I look at that number and I'm like, okay, why did this week we have, 3 losses, 5 losses, 10 losses? Why did we lose that? So I track that as well. And then I track from we got it and it's a retail, because it's a little different with insurance. But if it's a retail, why did it take so long for production to get started? Why? I want to know that. I mean, between we closed
what
it.
Metrics? Yeah. What specific things are you tracking there? Is it materials ordered? Is it like jobs started from signed contract? What are those?
From signed contract to job complete, I want to know how I want to make those times, because we already have the money. I mean, now it's just about getting it done, right? So, and then I track also, one of the biggest things, I track how many squares or how much work we're doing per the guys we have, because I want to make sure we're profitable. And if these guys, like this week, we instead of producing 300 squares this week, we produced 250. Why is the difference? Is it not enough sales? Did we not have enough guys? Did the material? What was going on? Why the change, right? So I track that as well. And then, once we get the job done, I mean, we also track how many people gave us a review. We track how many of those gave us a referral. So we have about 10 things that I keep in my mind. Now the girls, they're tracking all kinds of other things, right?
That's right.
Conversions now on our ads and things like that, because they have to, right? So there's a back end of KPIs to track there. But from me as the manager for the business, I track these specific things, which is about 10 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a key point for people to understand, is that each level in your business is going to have its own KPIs. Yeah. Every role is going to have their own KPIs that they're tracking, right? And so you don't need to know all of those KPIs as the owner. Right. You don't need to know. Your production manager may have another 10, right? Just that they're tracking, 5 or 10 that they're tracking. And you don't need to know all of them. You need to know 2 or 3 of those, maybe, or one of them, right? You may only need to know one of them. You may need to know 3 of them. But everyone has to have those metrics, man. If you don't, you're flying blind.
Right. No, and last time we did the podcast, that one of the things that I was very excited about, and I remember talking to you about this was all the automation, having
Yeah.
coming from a computer science background.
Yeah. From a
I use
tech
technology
background.
in my business to help us, but it was still noise. It wasn't until the last year, 2 years, that we really turned it into like systems, the KPIs,
What
the
changed? What changed in the
I
business?
think I'm the
What
one that changed. I
okay.
understood that I couldn't wear all the hats. Uh,
Mm,
Too much information can be a problem sometimes.
for
And,
sure.
yeah, I mean, it just overwhelms you, right? You don't know where to go, what to do with it, right? So having one of the things, the main thing that changed was I learned to delegate. So I got the right people in the right spots to take a bunch of stuff off my plate. Now I can go golfing on the weekend when I didn't
Uh-huh.
used to have zero time. But that's the main thing that changed. I think my mentality, my like, I got to get my eyes on that. I got to call this guy. I got you can't run a business like that because that's just a job, right?
What
It,
were you enlisted when you were in the military?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So now you moved to an officer role.
Right, right, exactly. It was tough for me. It was tough for me to let go. But as owners, there comes a point that you either let go or
Mm,
you will have a job for the rest of your life, right? In unless you want a business, then you got to learn how to let go and delegate. And as long as you have what we're talking about, all these KPIs where you can hold people accountable, you have the right training, and you can look at your numbers on a daily basis, not monthly, not weekly, on a daily basis. You got to be looking at these numbers, right? And as long as you have those numbers in front of you and you know what to do with them, then the business will work, right? And then I imagine myself retiring sometime soon, so somebody's going to have to do what I'm doing, right? And it's just a matter of who's going to be that somebody, right?
yeah. How has your approach to leadership evolved through this process? Like how's everything evolved for you?
So one of the things that I was very, very keen of was making sure that all my and I've always done it. We continue to do this was hands-on training, right, for everybody. We did ride-alongs for salespeople. We did real hands-on training on the job site for production guys. We went through training, classroom training for the office people, administration, all that. But one of the things that we have that has evolved and changed since has been that uh, now we've got systems in place that help us do that training. So it's not me,
Mm,
half the training that an admin person needs, the office manager can just point them to, hey, watch these videos, fill out these take these courses online, read these SOPs, and if you have any questions, now we go into so now we're not wasting so much time training, and you can train multiple people with the
yes.
same approach, right? One of the businesses or one of the suppliers that we use is Owens Corning, right? So they have Owens Corning University, and we leverage that to the max, right? It talks about measurements, insulation, product knowledge. So we put them through those courses as well. And so now what has changed is that I understand that it doesn't have to come from my mouth, right? I don't have to sit somebody in a
Mm,
classroom and say, oh, that you're going to do this, and let me show you how to do this. I mean, now we put them through training that everybody, and the biggest thing is that some people can't say, "Oh, well, yeah, I didn't learn because your system's flawed." The other 10 people that came before you learned,
that's right.
so it's not the system; it's you. Right? So now we understand these things, right?
And that's what when you have these things in place, when you have an established training process, when you have metrics that you're measuring against, it's easier to see who is the right fit
Yeah,
or not,
right.
or if they're the right fit for that role
And it goes
versus another role.
and it goes beyond people. It's also systems, associations you belong to, software you're using, right? After you use it and you understand and you know how you want to run your business, you know what your KPIs are, and then you look at the systems that you're using, you're like, okay, this is really not making a big impact in my business, yet I'm spending this or whatever, right? The best thing we could ever do was CRM. The second biggest thing was hiring a marketing company to help us.
Yeah.
And then the third was hiring somebody to help us train. So we went to all those three outside help, but then we took all of that and turned it into something in-house that we can, But first we had to get help. We just didn't know how to do it. I mean, it wasn't that we were lazy or dumb. We just didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how to do a roof, but that was it.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. Like to build all of this stuff from scratch and all these training programs and all these SOPs and everything.
Oh, yeah.
If you're trying to build all that from scratch, it's been done. There are other roofing companies. I don't know if anyone knows this. There's a couple of them out there. There's a few. There's even a couple that have been successful.
Right.
It's amazing. They may have done something in the past that you could replicate, right?
No, absolutely. One of the people that I follow is Reno, Paramount Roofing. Oh, man, that guy, he's amazing. The stuff he's done, this journey. He inspires me to. I mean, we definitely. I don't think we're at his level yet, but that's one of the things we strive for. I don't want to be $100 million company, but I definitely still think there's room for us to grow.
Yeah, there's there's a couple of things there that you just said. I don't want to be $100 million company. That's not everyone has to have the same goals.
No.
A lot of times, I talked about this a little bit recently, that there's a lot of vanity in growth, right? And a lot of ego in growth. You don't have to have $100 million company to be successful, right? It's a whole different thing. It's what you actually want in your life. If you have a $5 million company and you're optimizing for profitability,
right?
My goodness, man, that makes for a heck of a life.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a life.
Yeah. No, and I'm at a point in my life, and this is other companies may not, because I see a lot of young bucks coming up and starting their businesses. But I'm at a stage of my life where the most precious commodity for me is time. Right? That's what I want to buy. I want to buy back time. I don't want to get to 50 million. I probably don't even want to get to 30 million, but it'd be nice if we could get to 10 million. I mean,
yeah. Has your why changed over time?
I think my children have always been my motivation, always. But you still got to look out for number one, right? Your retirement, right? So I don't want to retire in a home and be on a budget. Right? I want to retire comfortably. I've traveled plenty, so it's not about travel for me. I think it's quality of life, and with my small children, I mean, I still got some responsibilities, whether they want to go to college, other things, right? So. To me, it's more about buying back my time and having that family time now.
Did you read that book?
I like the new trucks too, like everybody else does, but they're not my motivation anymore. Now, when I talk to a lot of guys that come up to me for advice, they're like always talking, oh, I just got that new F-250. I'm like, damn, I wish I could tell you that you're making a mistake, but do your thing. Right.
That doesn't matter. Yeah. That's not the stuff that matters. Other things that you've done. So, as I guess we're kind of still on the team concept here, is like you've I don't know, either hired, I don't know if you hired or if you promoted people into more managerial positions.
So what it is I've always had a goal with my business. since we talked last, I mentioned that I used to do storm work, right? So I didn't have a
Yep.
retail shop, right? I used to go out and just and I'd take 5, 6 crews and find a company that would hire us and give us a bunch of roofs, and we just work for 6 months, come back home, right? So that was a model, and I did it forever, and it worked. I mean, it's profitable. It's just very taxing on the family, taxing on the body. Always, traveling, whatever. So after I finished doing that part of the business of my business, I decided that I wanted to open a retail shop where I could actually get my children involved, because at this point now they're all grown, right? Uh, and after talking to all of them, they were all very excited. I mean, they saw the kind of the living that the roofing industry can give you, and they saw the potential. So when I told them, "Hey, you want to join the business? Let's open a retail shop, right? Let's stay local. And they all bought into it, right? So when they bought into it, I personally trained every one of them for the role they were going to take in the company, right? So I trained one of my kids to be the production manager. So everything I know, this is how you do it, right? And obviously he knows I'm a phone call away if anything, goes array, right? Same thing with my daughter. She's the office manager, the oldest. So, I mean, she took a lot of the responsibilities I had. Then my other daughter, she's the marketing manager. So now she came out of college and started taking courses and working on that. Then my other son, he's all like a YouTube kind of guy and technology oriented. So he started doing all the videography, right? And then my wife, she does the all the financials, so she took over everything, so I don't have to worry about numbers. I'm like, don't come to me about numbers anymore, about money actually. So I took all those hats off I used to wear, and I created those positions, trained them, and then with all the organizations we belong to, from roofer marketers to Roofing and Soil Alliance, we're still part of the Roofing Insights with Dimitri. So now everybody takes the training from there. So like, okay, you're going to take that, and you're going to take that, and you're going to take that, and you're going to be part of that training and take it, right? So now I'm left to oversee just the overall health of the company, right? And I'm here to answer any questions until there's no more questions.
Yeah. How do you balance that family and business relationship?
Oh, it gets tough. It's for sure sometimes, especially because some of my kids are young, right? I mean, I got a 19-year-old in charge of production. We're producing 350 squares a week with the teams that we have. And he goes out and party on the weekend, and then Monday he's a little sluggish. He gets in trouble, right? And they do feel that, for sure. You go through that. I mean, it's family. Yeah. They feel like, hey, you know what? Nobody's going to say anything. But we don't. As a matter of fact, we had just had a sit down because I started seeing some of the numbers go down a little bit. And now I know it's winter and it does affect, but I'm like, okay, I don't like the way this is going.
Get on them early, George.
I managed to keep it level. We wouldn't grow in December, but I kept it at a level. I don't want this going downhill, right? So we sat everybody down and was like, what can you do? And I always ask them, tell me what you can do to help us, Tell me, well, I could do this or I could do that. And then I come back and say, all right, well, let's have a plan. Let's do this. Let's make more phone calls. Let's do more posts. Let's call more customers. Let's request more reviews. Let's talk more to the homeowner on site so they're happy and we get those referrals. So, but everybody does, all my children, they definitely do at times want to invoke the family card, right? But we so I mean, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and then my daughter has a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old. I'm sorry, and then my teenage granddaughter. So we have like a daycare at the shop sometimes. But I wouldn't have it any other way, man.
That's right, man. That's awesome.
I think to me that's one of the rewards of having established a business. Even if I have to deal with the family card thing.
Yeah, man, it's awesome. It's beautiful. If is that the plan then, as George moves into retirement, that now it's the family business still?
Oh,
You're not
absolutely.
exiting the business to someone else. You're passing it along. There's a succession to
I
the
actually,
kids.
you know how everybody's trying to buy out business. I had a company call me and said they were interested in our business and they seen our growth and this and that, and they want to look at our numbers. And I was like, why not?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sell. I mean, I didn't say that, right? But I say, why not? So they came in and they did an audit last year, and they put a $3 million offer on the table for the business. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, that's good to know. Thank you. Right. But
That's right.
but no, we're not.
So now
I
you
think,
know that. Now you know how much to sell it to your kids for.
right. Yeah, I told them, I said, I don't have to sell it to you. I'll never leave this business. I just want to live my cut. Right. But no, for sure. I think that the goal is to exit, but continue to provide it maybe at a consultation level,
Yeah.
advice to my children so they continue being profitable in the business. I mean, I think they still have something to learn from me every day. I mean, uh, I can come up with good ideas still. I mean, I've
Yeah.
got that mindset of growth. But again, I don't want to reach for the stars. Sometimes I think you get lost in your goals if you don't have your feet firmly planted on the ground. Sometimes with the internet and all these millionaires overnight thing, people get a little crazy in their thoughts. They're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take this business, turn it to 100 million. Well, do you really need to, or do you? I mean,
Yeah.
you don't really need to not to have a good life. You don't. I mean,
That's what
even a $3 million business is a
yeah.
good life, man. It's a good life.
And it's a good life, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what I've seen. That what did I see recently? I think over the last couple of years, I saw a post. I think it was Gary Vaynerchuk that
Right.
had the post, if I'm not mistaken, and he was like, "Do you know what the 1% what a 1% income is?"
Right.
Like, and I think in Minnesota here, if I'm not mistaken, it was like 400, 500,000, somewhere in there, right? Like for a household income.
Right.
You could do that in roofing.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh,
don't know I don't
absolutely.
know if people know that, but like, you know, like
I
you
know.
can,
I know. Dimitri keeps getting hate because people tell him, "Hey, stop giving away the secret. Everybody wants to be a roofer now." But
yeah,
hey, that's happening here in my area of the country. We most definitely have seen an influx of new upcoming companies in the last year. I guarantee you, 50 companies popped up that they're
wow,
roofing companies, at least, because I didn't used to see this many companies now. But if you go
yeah,
look, if you do a search for metal roofing in McAllen, metal roofing in Brownsville, metal roofing in FAR, guess who pops up first? Because we've been doing
that's
it for
right,
a while, right? And we,
that's
we,
right,
we've got all the right systems in place, right? And so,
and it's to me, it's good that there's people able to do it, and you're down in Texas, so there's not a lot of barriers to entry,
right,
right? And so but will they execute?
right,
Will they have, most people don't make it,
right,
unfortunately,
right.
and you know but conversations like this, hopefully it helps other people,
Oh,
right? It gives other people, because my goodness, there's room.
oh yeah.
Like if there were 60 new companies and you still did 5 million, like what's the, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like
No, no. I mean,
how crazy is that from an abundance mind, like, or just looking at how big is the market truly? Do you really, you know what I mean? Do any of us really know how many, like, what our market really has in terms of, like how many dollars are being, spent on roofing services in
you
our market?
you can tell right away if you just are somebody that watches their environment and what's going on around them. We're growing. The Valley is becoming such a big hub. There was an article years ago on I want to say Forbes, it's either Wall Street Journal or Forbes, that the Valley, Rio Grande Valley was going to be the next metropolis, something like Dallas Fort Worth area. It's getting there, man. It's getting there. And I see it. I mean, there's new subdivisions coming up. Guess what? Those 300 homes in that subdivision are going to need a new roof. And then at some point, if there's a storm, they're going to need it again, right? So, and they're popping up everywhere. There's actually a shortage of homes here in the Valley. I mean, builders can't keep
all
up.
Over. Yeah, all over. There's a shortage of homes. It's like, and so, you know, it's like the pie is growing at the same time, right? And you know, everyone has to get better, and the better you are, the better you'll do. And, you know, but there's levels to it, and there's learnings along the way. I wanted to just kind of finish off with one thing. You guys, you opened a new shop, so you bought a shop. You know, you have your own building now. What have been some of the impacts of that?
Whoa, it's changed the game completely. Because having had the production team and the sales and admin team separated before, whether you want it or not, with all the technology accessible to you, there is still a gap in communication, right? Having the entire process all in one building changed completely our game. Cut back on our times, cut back on our losses, cut back on mistakes. So that was the main thing we saw. But then the biggest thing that it reinforced our culture even more. We got lockers for the guys and we got showers for the guys when they come in. And we got areas where they can hang out in the afternoon if they want, watch some TV. I mean, we create a culture where people want to come to work. And that's a big difference. Everybody's smiling. Everybody's happy. I'd say we're very fair with what we pay. Maybe we're not the best paying company, but we're very fair in what we offer. And having a team that has come together with the help of this shop and the way we're doing business now is changed our game completely, right? And we're in a permanent spot now where people can find us, right? And there's a big difference when a homeowner it's a high detail oriented homeowner that goes to a sales office versus show up to our shop. They see the trailers, they see the trucks, they see the material in stock, they see everybody in and out, coming in and out. There's a big difference. You get a lot of buy-in. You gain credibility.
Yeah. That authority and credibility, that trust.
Yep.
Right? Wow. You're going to be here, even if it's just subconscious to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're going to be there. Like you're going to be. And then, as you told me, that has allowed you also to buy some things in bulk. Right. And have some, there's some, I'm sure there's been challenges in learning how to do inventory management and what to buy and how much and things like that.
Well, we didn't have a warehouse manager at the beginning, so you can imagine the chaos, right? Everybody just they were at the flea market just grabbing stuff, right? So then we realized, okay, if we're going to do this bulk thing, it works because it saves us time, productivity, and money. But somebody's got to manage it, right? So we got a warehouse manager, and now we even sell to some other to crews, right? Crews that do their own thing. Like they'll call me at night or they'll call the girls and say, "Hey, I'm going to do a roof. I need a package." So we'll put a package together. We have a forklift. We'll just load up to their truck, and then they go about their way. And we make a little money. And the biggest thing for me is I like to sell it because I can continue to buy bulk. Right? Yes. So even if I don't use it, they're buying it from me. I'm making a little bit more money on it, and now I can continue to buy those truckloads, right? So it's helped us immensely in our. But also it's helped us save a little bit of money on the average. We were looking at a couple of weeks ago. It's a $500 per ticket on average we're saving. I mean, it's a big difference, man. And we're not neglecting quality. This is all approved material we're buying. We're not buying anything from China, anything that's not been, well, even if it's been approved and tested, right? But we don't buy like leftover material or secondary class, nothing. It's all new stuff, and we're able to do. And in some cases, what has helped us is maybe we get that one deal that the person's like, oh, there's this one guy, he'll give it to me. All right, I'll give you a couple $100, and I'm not losing money on it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, George, man, it's been an awesome conversation. I think it's going to be helpful to people. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. Thank you for tuning into the Roofing Success Podcast. For more valuable content, visit roofingsuccesspodcast.com. While there, check out our sponsors for exclusive offers, shop for merchandise, and sign up for our newsletter for industry updates and tips. Also, join the Roofing Success Facebook group to connect with other professionals and stay updated on the latest trends. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps us continue to bring you top industry insights. The website link is in the description. Thanks for listening.